Hello, my name is Mary Rose and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about The Gaps by Leanne Hall, which is the first arc that I've ever gotten to review. I'm very excited about it. When the news breaks that Yin Mitchell, a student from Balmoral Ladies College, has been abducted, it shakes all of the students at that school, including Chloe, a quiet biracial transfer student, and Natalia, one of the popular white girls in her grade. As time drags on and things get more and more tense between the students without any news of Yin coming back, Chloe and Natalia both have to learn how to handle their grief in a way that's healthy for them and the people around them. I'm going to start on a more non-serious note because I think the rest of this review will be pretty heavy, but this book is by an Australian author and the characters are Australian, and I did not realize that until I looked up the author on Goodreads. I was genuinely confused by some of the colloquialisms, and I think this is my first time reading a book by an Australian author, which makes a lot of sense. I think this is also worth noting because it took me way too long to figure this out, but Balmoral Ladies College is a secondary school, it is not a university. Once again, something that just confused me for some reason. So this book follows the perspectives of both Chloe and Natalia, and I think that was a great choice because Leanne Hall uses these characters to explore issues that don't affect one character but do affect another, and it allows us to really get inside their heads and get to know them well, and so they're very well developed as you move throughout the story. One of the issues that Chloe's point of view is used to explore is how women, and specifically women of color, have been erased from mainstream art. Chloe attempts to tackle or challenge this by doing her own art project, and in doing so, she discovers how few Asian women and women of color in general have their work well documented. There's a point in the story where she's at an art show with Natalia, and the only exhibit in the entire gallery showing that she truly enjoys is a photo series done by a South Sudanese woman. It pushes her in her own project, and it opens up a rabbit hole for her in terms of what she wants her art to say about her and who she is. By the end of the book, Chloe is more confident in her art, and she's working on a potential project for a proper gallery showing about how some of the girls in her class see themselves and who they want to be. Her other main struggle throughout the book is fitting in at her school. Chloe moved to Balmoral a year before the story starts, while the rest of the students for the most part have been there together for years, and so it kind of leaves her stuck between two worlds, that of Balmoral and her old high school. As someone who's experienced the feeling of being stuck in that situation and unable to do anything about it, I thought that it was a really accurate portrayal. In particular, the way that Chloe talks about some of her school friends and how they're only talking to each other due to proximity really stuck out to me, because that sentiment feels like it was taken directly from my own brain. These 2 points combined to give her a really pleasing and satisfying arc, and by the end of the book, despite all of the tragedy, Chloe is really reaching happiness, and I was really happy for her. Natalia is the complete opposite. Where Chloe is quiet and sticks to the sidelines, Natalia is bold and the center of everything at Balmoral. Her story is more focused on Yin's disappearance because it's revealed that she and Yin were really close friends until what I believe is the Australian equivalent of middle school. And her path doesn't really intersect with Chloe's at all until Natalia worms her way into modeling for Chloe's art project. And after the project is done, it becomes so much bigger for Natalia, especially after it's taken down due to the complaints of another student. You really get to explore her anger both with what happened to Yin and with Chloe's piece being taken down, because she's grieving for someone that she used to know, which is almost worse. It's always difficult to think about an old friend with whom things ended badly. And this is another piece of the book that I can relate to, although fortunately nothing like what happened to Yin has happened in my life. Natalia's story arc is also very satisfying because by the end she's able to process what has happened, and while she hasn't necessarily made her peace with it, she's not as intensely angry at the world around her as she was at the beginning. When the news breaks that Yin's body has been found, that she's gone, it is so genuinely heartbreaking. The scene is told from Natalia's point of view, and it's just crushing to read. There are other scenes where Natalia is with Yin's mother and her younger brothers, and those are equally crushing because they do an excellent job of describing an absolutely world-stopping grief. Even though Yin and Natalia weren't close when Yin passed away, it is still that type of grief for Natalia, and it's so beautifully but painfully written. There were a handful of points in the story where I had to set my phone down and just let myself cry, honestly. Both characters have moments of reflection where they think about the situation surrounding them and Yin, and how this kind of thing just seems to happen to women, specifically women of color, and the world keeps moving in the way that it always does, like nothing is wrong. It's worth noting that Balmoral actually has a history of strange kidnappings like this, but the victims were always returned, and this isn't really focused on at all past the beginning of the book, which is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy compared to the characters' later thoughts. This could have easily been a more stereotypical murder mystery novel, but rather than trying to figure out what happened, the characters recognize that there's really not anything that they can do, and so instead they attempt to vent their grief and frustration in different ways. And ultimately, considering the end results and how close they are to the crime itself, I think that's way more satisfying. Going in, I wasn't too sure about how much I would like this book, but I ended up really enjoying it. It was very emotional and a little bit cathartic to read, honestly, and I cannot wait to get a copy when it comes out in February. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, you can go ahead and give it a thumbs up down below, and if you want to see more of my videos, you can hit the subscribe button that is also down there. In the description, I will have links to my Twitter and my TikTok in case you would like to follow me there. And thank you again for watching all the way to the end. It really means a lot to me, and I will see you next time.